This thread on Reddit is packed full of great SEO advice and also terrible SEO advice. I just stumbled upon it and I thought it'd be really fun to do a reaction video. So this guy is asking for local SEO help for his plumbing business, and let's see what people are saying. He specifically asks if he should focus on getting more citations or a few backlinks, and which one is more important for local SEO. Great question. What does the r/local SEO community on Reddit say? All right, the top ranked comment here with 5 upvotes says GBP optimization plus constant updates plus reviews. 2 for 3. So yes, Google Business Profile optimization, very important for local businesses, even more important than website optimization. Reviews are incredibly important. Hard to get, but important. Updates though. Here they're talking about Google Business Profile posts. These are the updates or offers you might see at the bottom of a Google Business Profile. And sure, you should do these. They give you a chance to show off any updates or offers you might have, but they do not influence ranking. This person's asking about increasing visibility. Google posts, not going to help. They then go on to suggest questions and answers and say that you can ask these and answer them yourself. This is great advice. You can see right here, you get an opportunity to answer questions from your customers or just ask your own questions. This is a great opportunity to ask commonly asked questions, to address common objections to your business, or just to highlight your unique selling points. And as you can see here, you can't tell who asked the question, so it's not going to look cringe, unless of course you click on the question. Now they do go on to say it's a good opportunity to add location and service keywords. Questions and answers aren't about ranking, they're about conversions. You're not going to rank higher, you're just more likely to convert people who are already looking at your profile. They then recommend hyper-local pages that showcase exemplary case studies. This is a great piece of advice, and actually the number one strategy I recommend after your Google Business Profile is optimized. Your homepage and core service pages are going to be optimized for the main area or the greater area that you serve. So for pure plumbing here in Las Vegas, they're optimizing their homepage and their main service pages for Las Vegas. But then if we go to their areas we serve page, you can see they've also created pages for each of the other cities or smaller neighborhoods in the greater area. So here they have a page for Summerlin. And the best way to do this is just to build a homepage for that area. The biggest mistake people make is they try to make the page hyper optimized for the city that they're trying to target. However, that doesn't make sense. Your homepage is going to be the main page for the greater area, but you're not going to shove Las Vegas in the homepage everywhere. So why would you do that on the service area pages? Instead, you're just making a new version of your homepage or a service page for that area. So include the area name in the H1, in the title, and a few other places, but don't shove it in every paragraph. Pure Plumbing's actually done a really good job here. And the last thing I'll mention with service area pages is make sure you're not duplicating content across the pages. Google doesn't want to index the same page twice, and so you want to write new content for each page. Fortunately, large language models make this really easy to generate new words that say essentially the same thing. And lastly, Expensive Sync says to set up a review acquisition strategy. This is key. Getting reviews is hard for every business, which means it's hard for your competitors too. The number one thing you can do is just ask for them if you're not already doing that. Ask every customer for a review. Don't be afraid that they're going to give you a bad review. The ones that are going to give you a bad review are going to give it to you whether or not you ask. The ones that forget to give you a review are the ones who are going to give you a good review. Most of your customers like your service if you're running a good business. So ask everyone and then send reminders. As Expensive Sync mentions here, set up an email outreach. People want to leave you a good review, they just forget. And real quick, if you're in a similar situation to Dr. Nua here and you would like help with your website, I make videos where I do a full audit of your website and digital marketing. As long as you don't mind me posting it on YouTube, just visit the link in the description and fill out that form. And usually within a few days, I'll post a video with some actionable insights just for you. All right, next up is Best Expression, and they say get 200 citations. Now, if you don't know, a citation is just a mention of your business somewhere on the internet, usually with your name, address, phone number, and website. Almost always, this is going to be some kind of directory. This is the easiest way to get links or mentions to your website. Now, it's debatable whether or not these actually count as backlinks, but yes, pretty much anyone in local SEO will tell you to get some citations. The big debate is how many should you get and how much do they matter? The most important citation is your Google Business Profile. We already talked about that. You also want to manually submit yourself to Apple Business Connect and Bing and Facebook. You also want to get into the Better Business Bureau and local Chamber of Commerce. Those are a little bit harder. But what Best Expression is talking about here, when they're talking about getting 200 citations, is they're talking about using an automated service. I recommend Bright Local. What you want to avoid here are services like Yext that charge you every month. It doesn't make sense. They only do the work on the first month. They're telling you they're going to maintain your listing. They don't require maintenance. You just need to post them. Now you want to make sure your business information is consistent across all those listings. And if it ever changes, then you can do another campaign to update them. But you should only have to pay for this once. Now, how many citations should you get? I don't know. There's going to be diminishing returns naturally because you're going to start with the most authoritative directories. So every directory after that's going to be a little less authoritative than the one before. More citations tends to help, but I think after about 30 or so of the top directories, you're not going to see a big difference. They also recommend getting 40 reviews. I don't know where they got that number from. Sterling and Sky did do a study and found that you get a little bump around 10 reviews and then maybe another one around 100 reviews. But I would actually focus less on the total number of reviews and more on the frequency of reviews. It's great that you have 100 reviews with a 4.8 rating, but if your most recent review was 2 months ago, you're sending mixed signals to Google. Google cares a lot more about how many reviews you're getting now than how many total reviews you've gotten. So when you're setting a goal for reviews, set a goal for how many you're going to get each month. All right, next is Citrus Oyster. They run a web agency. Citrus says building backlinks, citations, social media, guest posting on blogs. There's a little bit of confusion there. So guest posting on blogs is just one version of building backlinks. That can be effective, but you don't want the majority of links coming from guest posts. That looks weird. So guest posting should be considered a supplementary link building activity. Citations we already covered. Social media, there's a lot of debate about how much social media helps. I think most SEOs will agree that links from social media don't count the same way they would from other websites. But it does seem like having a strong social media presence does correlate with higher rankings. Now, the reason for that is unclear. I don't think Google cares how many subscribers or followers you have on social media channels. Rather, I think Google's algorithms are just getting better at recognizing well-known brands that people trust, and those kind of brands tend to have a strong social media presence. That being said, there are so many benefits to having a strong brand on social media that you should do it whether or not it helps SEO. So this is good so far. This is where I depart with Citrus though. He says, I am good at on-page stuff like accessibility for screen readers and design and load times. Google likes my sites because they load instantly on mobile and we get extra ranking online because of it. I'm skeptical of this. I think most SEOs will agree that page speed and load times and accessibilities are not direct ranking factors. Or if they are, they're a very, very small factor. That being said, we now know that user experience does influence ranking in aggregate, meaning that Google looks at user behavior as they're searching on Google and going to websites, and they use that to train their algorithm. So while it's really hard to measure the effect, there is definitely some correlation between providing a good user experience and better rankings. That being said, I have never seen a website shoot up in rankings merely from improving things like page load time or accessibility. The only exception here is if your website was so slow that it wouldn't load for Google and you weren't getting indexed. Fixing that obviously will help you get indexed and your rankings will go up. He says, my SEO partner, Adam, does the content, backlinks, curations, blogging, ads, etc. Now, ads isn't part of search, but I gotta be honest with you, Curious. I think Adam's pulling most of the weight here. That being said, there are a lot of other benefits to having a super fast website. Mostly, it's going to increase your conversion rate. People tend to click away if a website's not loading fast enough, and they'll look through more of your website if it's loading lightning fast. So even if it's not helping with rankings, you're doing good work. Citrus was also very generous in sharing his exact process for creating content. I disagree with it a little bit, but that was very nice of him. And then he shares this example of a page that's ranking number 1 for multiple sclerosis therapy, Montclair, California. It loads super fast. Good job, Citrus. And I double checked. It does in fact rank number 1 for multiple sclerosis therapy, Montclair, California. However, I just want to call out this one thing that SEOs like to do. They say, hey, look at this page. We're rank 1 for our main search term. That on its own is not necessarily impressive. Now, Citrus sounds like a fine SEO. I'm not trying to criticize him. And the page itself is nice. I think it reads a little bit more like a blog post, and I think it should have been designed as like a transactional page. but I'm nitpicking. The point is, let's just go ahead and look at the population of Montclair, California. 37,000. How many multiple sclerosis therapy centers do you think there are in Montclair, California? We can go back and look at the number 2 ranking site. It's actually the same website, it's just their homepage. So they probably would have been rank 1 without that page. After that, the pages they're beating are not competitive pages. The 3rd ranking page is not even talking about multiple sclerosis therapy. It's just probably mentioned somewhere on here, and they happen to be in Montclair. So again, it's not criticism of Citrus's work. I just want to point out that any page about multiple sclerosis therapy in Montclair, California probably would have ranked number 1. But I hope I wasn't too hard on Citrus Oyster. He was super transparent and honest and helpful, and it sounds like they're just running a really good agency. All right, next up is Joy Hawkins, and I had no idea she was on here when I started this video. Joy Hawkins is actually one of the 2 people that I turn to when I'm unsure about a local SEO question. She knows her stuff. And while she doesn't do black hat tactics, she's one of the few white hat SEOs that's happy to test and investigate white hat tactics to see if they actually work. And she says right off the bat, don't worry about citations outside of the major ones. And I love that. And this pretty much aligns with my diminishing returns theory. This is actually something that both Joy and I have gone back and forth on. She has a video talking about how great citations are. I have a video saying citations are a huge waste of time. I think at this point we've probably converged around the same place. Like a lot of things with SEO, it's hard to know for sure. Citations do something, it's just hard to say how much, and there are going to be big diminishing returns after the most trusted ones. And Joy here gives, I think, the best piece of advice for backlinks, which is to see if any of your friends who own a business could allow you to contribute to their content. She gives an example of giving a realtor a quote to put on their site if they had a page talking about new home builds and how much plumbing generally costs. This is my advice with backlinks, and the first thing we always do with clients. Yes, you can buy backlinks. Yes, you can pay for guest posts, but I would not consider doing anything like that before you've exhausted all organic opportunities for backlinks. So I have a whole brainstorming process I go through with clients. I'd be happy to make a video about it if anyone's interested. It's just a way to quickly identify partners that you might not have thought of that you can reach out to do an exchange like this. Something mutually beneficial where they're getting something in exchange for giving you a link. And these are real relationships related to your business, maybe in your local city. They're the highest quality backlinks, and you're getting them without spending $500 per link. All right, let's look at Zaclain Safar's advice. They say, in my opinion, working daily on your online presence is a top Google ranking factor, even more important than backlinks or citations. I don't know what working daily on your online presence is. But let's move on. They end with running ads can also significantly boost your rankings. I'm going to have to agree with Sinomo here when they say running ads has nothing to do with boosting ranking. This is one of the oldest myths in SEO, and while I can't disprove it definitively, I've never seen any evidence that running ads on Google actually helps with your SEO. Now, there might be some indirect benefits in that if you're getting a lot of traffic from ads, people are more aware of you, people are then more likely to talk about you or link to you, and that can help with your rankings. However, that's not the theory. The theory, as Living Economics points out here, is that Google is all about making money, and they will always give preference to ones that pay them over ones that don't. That makes no sense to me. I've never seen any evidence of it. I really don't understand how it would benefit Google to push you up higher organically if you're paying for ads. If you're ranking better organically, you don't need to spend as much on ads. Good Labjacks repeats some of the good advice we've seen so far. He then goes on to say, ask your local tradesman friend to swap links. This is not a bad idea. It's called a link exchange. If you have a healthy amount of links coming to your site, and some of those links are from link exchanges like this, it's totally fine and those can help your ranking. However, if you're doing this at scale, if you have 100 websites linking to you and you're linking back to those 100 websites, then you're at risk of a penalty. Or if you're lucky, Google will just ignore those links. So I would not use this as your primary link building strategy, but yeah, it can work. Cloud Lab Digital makes a really good point. Plumbing is competitive almost everywhere. This isn't said enough by SEO agencies, but if you're like a single plumber, your chances of outranking these huge plumbing companies with 100 technicians and marketing budgets of more than $1 million a year is very small. My advice there is just focus on smaller keywords. Instead of trying to rank for your greater area, try to rank for your own backyard. I also got to give a shout out to Inquirita Real Estate. This is the one tip I've been giving to business owners above everything else. It's sharing personal experiences, expertise, insight with video. And she hit the nail on the head. It's valuable because it's golden content that can't be generated by AI. Now, I plan to make a whole video about this because there's a lot of nuance into how to create videos that actually get views and then how to repurpose that into blog posts or newsletters or Reddit posts. But especially if you're in a competitive niche, doing short form videos is, in my opinion, the most effective marketing you can be doing right now. And the last comment here is from Different Contract, who actually shares a lot of good advice. He mentions getting the city and service name in your H1, H2 title tag and meta description. Your meta description does not impact your ranking. And while I agree that getting your keyword in at least your H1 and title is very important, I don't think it accounts for 70% of your website optimization, as he mentions. Yes, you should have a separate service page for each of your services. He also mentions getting more followers on your Facebook page. I don't think this has anything to do with SEO. I also just wouldn't worry about follower count on social media these days. I'd care a lot more about views and engagement. But the one place I just really have to disagree is he says that local citations, you should just hire this out on Fiverr. I'm not saying you can't see results from buying citations on Fiverr. I have seen businesses go up in ranking significantly after buying hundreds or thousands of low quality local citations on Fiverr. However, those gains tend to be temporary, and it's also possible you're going to get penalized by this. My advice, don't hire people for SEO work on Fiverr. Unless this is some kind of throwaway website and you don't care if you get burned, you need to be more careful with your business website. Overall, I think the local SEO community on Reddit really nailed it. Tons of good advice here. I thought I'd find myself disagreeing with more, but mostly super helpful. And that's one thing I'll say about the local SEO community in particular, is they've just always been very friendly and generous with their knowledge. And I have to give another shout out to Joy Hawkins because I think that culture could be attributed to her more than anyone else. So again, if you have a website for a small business that you'd like me to do a free audit of, I'm looking for more to do on this channel. People seem to like those. Just visit the link in the description or email me at tj@tjrobertson.com. Thanks.